I really do credit IIT with so much of that. And I look at all of you out there, and I look at some whom I would assume to be students, and I really hope that you grasp that opportunity, because this place teaches you so much. There's the fundamentals that you learn here can certainly be used to help go build airplanes and build cars, and if that's your passion, please go do it, or build the next smart building, or frankly, write the next line of code that changes the technology industry. Go do those things. But the other thing that it teaches you how to do is solve incredibly complex problems and work across groups of different diverse backgrounds and solve problems that, frankly, people tell you can't solve. That's what this place teaches you how to do. And look, there'll come a day when you're not the best programmer anymore and your differential equations aren't quite what they used to be. But those fundamentals of how you problem solve, how you work together, how you collaborate for a greater end, those will stick with you. And that's what IIT taught me.
You know, it seems like I would assume kind of your view kind of, with that perspective of seeing what every company is doing from water to aircraft manufacturing and Microsoft, it seems like even though it's our nature to think, oh, there's no way this is accelerating because that's just so much change, I don't know if I can handle it.
Yeah.
But it's really going to accelerate.
You bet.
Right?
You bet. Well, and the other thing is that it's, I think as you pointed out, it's pervasive. I think it took me a long time to get my head around that, certainly in my career. I mean, you go through change and you think, well, okay, as soon as I get past this point in October, things will settle down.
I know that, the things will settle down thing. That's the biggest lie.
Look, the only thing that's constant is change. Right? And the sooner that you actually not only accept it, but embrace it, I think that's when the real learning starts to occur. I mean, we've culturally been through a lot of that at Microsoft over the last 3 years because we're kind of trying to reinvent the company altogether. And one of the things that our CEO, Satya Nadella, who is not only my boss, but I envy a lot, I think he's a fantastic human being, that he preaches this notion of having a growth mindset, which is this fundamentally this belief that all potential can be nurtured and that we are all fundamentally unfinished. And that if you recognize that you're unfinished and rather look at that as somehow some sort of a flaw in character, but rather something that is just common across human beings and embrace it, that's when you can truly learn and learn without limits. And so I think of myself as an unfinished leader. I don't want to be finished the day they put me in the ground because who would want to be finished? What's the point in all of that? I think one of the most beautiful things about being a human being is learning. And so if you can embrace change and think of it as an opportunity, that to me is the secret spice of life. Look, the type of people that we can hire at Microsoft to go do this work are the people that have learned how to learn.
Yep.
If all they have done is learned a skill, well, the skill will age.
Especially in technology.
Yep. Look, embrace the things that are hard. Push yourself beyond the things you think you can do, and you'll just be so much better off in life because the regular things will seem easy, and when the hard things come by, you will have seen it before and you'll know how to handle them. I kind of have 5 things in my leadership toolkit. The first is leading by example. These guys can keep me honest on this, but there's not a thing that I'll ask my people to do or my leaders to do that I wouldn't gladly roll up my sleeves and do alongside. I think that's super important because, like as you mentioned earlier, Chris, you sort of get to this world where you think about, oh, well, I'm going to reach this moment where suddenly I'm going to kind of have this like pinnacle or apex and everything's going to get easy and I'll have other people do all of these things. It's a recipe for disaster. You have to lead by example. The second thing is you have to communicate and collaborate. And it's never over. It's never done. Communication is one of those things where too much is never enough. When I lived in the Bay Area, I used to joke it was like painting the Golden Gate Bridge. You get to one side, and you finish, and you find the paint's peeling on the other side, and you have to start all over again. You have to provide clarity of focus for your people. Because with a massive organization, it's easy for people to get disconnected with the agenda of the company. And it's a delicate balance in that regard, because on one side, like, I firmly believe none of us is as smart as all of us. So you want innovation to occur everywhere within the company, but you need to harness that energy and focus it and provide clarity and energy around how you want to go and then turn around and execute. I also fundamentally believe in this notion of life cycle talent development, where you're always recruiting people. You want to surround yourself with people who are better than you are at their craft. And there's times when that can feel uncomfortable. You're like, well, hang on a minute. If I recruit a whole bunch of people who are better than me, like, am I going to not have a job someday? Like, it may be, but if you want to build the very best team, if you want to build a team for success, you recruit the very best people, even when you're not looking for talent. Some of the very best people I've ever hired in my life, I hired, and I started trying to hire long before I even had a job opening, long before I even had a team. I can remember meeting with one guy who I eventually did hire, and who's now worked for me for 10 or 12 years now, who I met with him, and I had lunch, and I said, listen, I want to talk to you about working for me. And the guy about spit out his food, and he said, well, you don't have a team. Like, what are you talking about? I'm like, don't worry about that. Someday I will. Let me take care of that part. Let me tell you why I want you to work for me and why I want us to build a team together. So you're always recruiting, always developing talent, always presenting people with new career growth and opportunity, always making sure you're serving up the next. And it's a life cycle in that regard. Fourth thing is what I call iterative refinement. And this is probably my biggest thing, which is in providing this leadership and direction, if you sit around and wait for the perfect answer, you'll miss it. I can't tell you that 3 years from now, I wish I would have plotted a course that was 25.683 degrees east of northeast. And that's exactly where we should have gone as a company. But I can kind of tell you we got to go that way, and we got to go fast, and we're going to learn along the way, and we're going to have checkpoints and make sure we're iteratively refining our focus to get to where we need to be. Yep. And the final thing is what I call a commitment to excellence. The story used to be a lot better when the Oakland Raiders were a better football team, because it was their story. And at one point in time, believe it or not, they were like the winningest team in all of sport. But having a commitment to excellence doesn't mean just like getting the grade this quarter or getting the GPA that you want or producing the revenue results that I demand of my folks each quarter. It actually means that higher bar element, Chris, that you spoke of earlier, which is if this is the hurdle that you have to hurdle, practice on one that's this high. Yeah. Practice on one that's higher than the one that you'll have to cross, and then the real work will seem easy. If you have that commitment to excellence and you instill that in your people, you'll do great things. Whether it's 2,000, 2, or 25,000, you got to inspire excellence within your people.
Excellent.
So the answer is don't be afraid to sign up for the stuff that seems hard and that nobody else wants to sign up for. Believe in yourself. If you know you can get it done, you will get it done. And that's actually when the best opportunities in life are handed to you.
Fantastic. All right, on that, that's a great close. Thank you so much. Great conversation.
Thank you.